The diplomatic shuttle drifted through the violet haze of Arthelion Prime's upper atmosphere, its hull vibrating as though the planet were humming back at it. Elias Ward sat stiffly in his seat, hands clenched around a datapad he had stopped pretending to read 10 minutes ago. He had handled reactor malfunctions, pirate boardings, and one very unfortunate misunderstanding with a drunk ambassador. But nothing in his career had prepared him for meeting the Arthelion heiress. 2 minutes until docking, the shuttle's AI announced. Elias swallowed hard. His dress jacket felt too tight across the chest, as if the fabric itself had decided diplomacy was a bad idea. He'd been warned. The Arthelion court was one of the most ornately ritualistic societies in the galactic cluster, and their princess, Lythara Vaelen, was renowned for her discipline, intelligence, and a composure so perfect that no human diplomat had ever managed to make her expression change. Judging by his palms, Elias was about to be the first. The shuttle doors hissed open to reveal a landing platform carved from transparent crystal that refracted the binary suns into shifting ribbons of gold and blue. Arthelion Prime did not simply glow. It breathed light, soft pulses that made Elias feel like he was walking through the lungs of a sentient star. 4 guards awaited him, their long ears rising like elegant crescents from silver-blue skin. Their armor was a seamless cascade of crystalline plates that moved like flowing water. Without a word, they turned and began leading him inward. Elias followed, doing his best not to stare. Everything here seemed built to overwhelm the senses. Hallways that reshaped themselves with liquid smoothness. Walls of flowing luminescence that responded to footsteps. An air so charged with energy it made the back of his neck tingle. Finally, they entered a massive chamber, the hall of breathing light, every sound transformed into layered harmonics. Even Elias' quiet inhalation came back as a soft chime. And there, beneath a tree-like structure of crystal branches, sat the princess, Lythara Vaelen. His first thought was completely undiplomatic. She's impossibly beautiful. Her long white hair shimmered like woven starlight. Her skin carried a pale crystalline sheen, and her eyes, golden, layered with shifting iridescence, seemed to take in every detail without moving. But it was her ears, elegantly tapered and longer than any other Arthelion he had seen, that drew the room's subtle light toward her like gravity. She rose with slow, fluid precision. "Elias Ward," she said. Her voice resonated through the hall in layered tones, as if 2 or 3 versions of her spoke simultaneously. "Your arrival is unexpected. Earth rarely sends envoys alone." "My team got delayed," Elias managed, clearing his throat. The sound echoed like a tiny choir of embarrassed diplomats. The princess blinked. Once, her ears shifted, tilting forward, interested. "The hall approves of your voice," she said. "That makes one of us," Elias muttered under his breath. Her ears twitched delicately. That, according to his cultural briefing, was the Arthelion equivalent of a raised eyebrow. "You were summoned," she continued, "because our crystal barrier failed this cycle. An anomaly occurred, a resonance pattern not recorded in 3,000 years. Elias nodded. "Right, the incident, I read the briefing." "You did not read all of it." Her gaze moved finally to his chest, more specifically to the faint glowing line beneath the collar of his shirt. Elias froze. "Oh, that." He forced a laugh. "Old injury, nothing mystical." Princess Lythara stepped down from the crystalline dais. She moved like light refracting through water, effortless, untraceable. When she stopped in front of him, Elias felt the temperature shift. The hall quieted. Even the walls seemed to lean in. "Remove your jacket," she said softly. Elias blinked. Excuse me." "Your jacket," she repeated. "Now." His brain stuttered, but he obeyed. Maybe it was the atmosphere, maybe it was her voice. Maybe it was survival instinct. He shrugged out of the jacket, revealing the thin undershirt beneath, revealing the faint, curved scar glowing against his skin. A scar that had flared with heat the moment he stepped off the shuttle. The princess inhaled sharply, a tiny sound, but the hall responded as if she had sung a symphony. Her eyes widened, her ears lifted, the chamber pulsed with light. "Impossible," she whispered. "The arc mark. The shape foretold in the celestial Concord. The sign of intertwined destinies." Elias stared at her. "It's a plasma burn from a meltdown on Dirian Station." "It is not a burn." She stepped closer. "It is the one mark our people have feared and awaited." He swallowed, feared, and awaited, she clarified. "This is some kind of mistake. There are no mistakes in resonance." She raised one hand toward the mark, hesitated, and then stopped a breath away from touching him. You carry the curve of crossing fates. You are the one the prophecy names. I'm not princess. I'm not anything. Then why, she said quietly, does your presence activate Arthelion's sacred architecture? What? As if answering her, the entire hall suddenly brightened around him. Light pooled beneath his feet. The crystal branches above them shimmered. The princess exhaled. It recognizes you, she whispered. Elias Ward, you activated the bonded light. The what? Her voice lowered. It is an ancient joining protocol, a bridge between two beings, between two peoples. He stared at her horrified. You're saying just by walking in, I triggered some kind of connection. Not some kind. Her golden eyes locked on his, a life bond. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. Okay, he said hoarsely, we should undo that. Her expression didn't change. It cannot be undone. His pulse spiked. Princess, with all respect, this is a misunderstanding. Lythara tilted her head, studying him not as a diplomat, but as something else entirely. The bond does not misunderstand, she said. Then the bond is wrong because I definitely didn't intend to. You do not have to intend a— The alarm wasn't loud. Arthelion technology rarely was. Instead, the crystal walls shifted from soft blue to sharp silver, the color of ceremonial summons. A low harmonic tremor rippled through the hall of breathing light, and Elias felt it vibrate directly against his ribs, as if the planet itself were reacting to him. Princess Lythara's gaze didn't leave his face. They felt it, she murmured. The council, the court, every resonance guardian within 100 levels. Felt what? Elias demanded. I didn't do anything. You existed. Her ears tilted back, an expression he hadn't yet seen on her, somewhere between awe and apprehension. The bonded light is never subtle. He opened his mouth to protest, but the chamber doors unfolded before he could speak, peeling open like petals of crystal responding to command. Half a dozen Arthelion officials swept inside with the silent grace of dancers. The leader, a tall male with gilded markings and ears sharp as blades, bowed to the princess. Your Highness, he said in a voice that seemed carved from glass. We detected a dual resonance ignition from your hall. Please confirm status. Lythara did not flinch. Status confirmed, she replied. A bond has manifested. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Elias swore one of the officials nearly fainted. Princess, the leader whispered, eyes widening, with a human. Elias raised a hand. Hey, hi, I'm standing right here. The official ignored him entirely. This violates every precedent in the conquered laws. A cross-species resonance, unmediated, unprepared, unwitnessed. It was witnessed by the hall, Lythara said coldly. The official recoiled, ears folding flat in submission. Mentioning the hall was apparently the Arthelion version of ending an argument with divine authority. Elias turned to the princess, voice barely steady. Okay, so what exactly does bond mean in your culture? Something diplomatic. Something symbolic, something like an interstellar handshake. Elias, she faced him fully now. It means our fates are intertwined. Decisions affecting one of us affect both. Our life patterns resonate in tandem. And any political faction that opposes me now opposes you as well. He stared at her. That sounds less like symbolism and more like a marriage contract. The officials gasped loud enough to echo. The princess's expression remained unreadable. It is similar in weight. Oh God. The lead official stepped forward, his tone sharpened. This human must be taken to the consequence chamber for evaluation. If the bond is invalid, we must sever it before. It cannot be severed, Lythara cut in. But Your Highness, you haven't even verified his compatibility, his biology, his mind, his spirit signature. No human can sustain resonance with. He sustained it, she said. Elias felt dizzy. Can someone please tell me what the— Elias Ward, the official snapped. Your presence threatens to destabilize the heir's resonance pattern. You must submit to examination immediately. Threatens, Elias protested. I barely understand what's happening. The consequence chamber will determine your intent, capacity, and the extent of the bond. Intent, he repeated. What intent? I walked in the room. That was my intent, walking in the room. Lythara lifted a hand. The hall fell silent. Elias comes with me, she said. I will oversee the process myself. The officials exchanged terrified glances. Apparently the idea of their princess personally entering the consequence chamber was the cultural equivalent of a head of state diving into a volcano. One of them dared to speak. Your Highness, tradition forbids. I decide tradition, she said calmly. The hall gave a single harmonic pulse like agreement. Elias swallowed hard as she turned to him. Stay close. He followed her down a corridor that reshaped around them, walls elongating into curved pathways of shimmering crystal. The floor brightened beneath their steps, adjusting to her presence and to his. He felt like the architecture was watching him, analyzing him, judging him. He muttered, "So, what does this chamber do? Is it safe?" "The chamber evaluates resonance alignment," she said. "It amplifies truth, intent, fear, desire." "Desire," he repeated weakly. "That seems unnecessary." "It is required," she said. "Bonds form around emotion. The chamber must see all." "Fantastic," Elias muttered. "I always wanted my deepest emotions broadcast to a room made of judgmental crystals." A hint, just a hint, of amusement touched her lips. "The crystals do not judge," she assured him. "They merely reveal." They reached an archway that hummed like a living throat. Light spilled through in cascading waves. "The consequence chamber," she said. The room inside was circular, seamless, its walls shifting through gradients of pale gold and silver. In the center stood a platform of translucent crystal, barely raised. "Step onto the resonance dais," she instructed. Elias took a breath. "If this thing vaporizes me." "It will not," she said. "That's the first reassuring thing I've heard today." He stepped onto the dais. Light curled up around his feet like mist. Then the room reacted. A soft hum filled the air. The walls brightened. Lythara stepped beside him, placing her hand near, but not on his arm. The chamber pulsed again. The crystal beneath Elias lit up, golden at first, then deepening, into a warm, steady glow that climbed up his legs, his torso, his chest. Straight to the arc mark. The mark flared with light. Lythara inhaled sharply. The chamber echoed her breath like a whispered anthem. The light pulsed outward, one rhythm from Elias, one rhythm from her. They merged. The chamber exploded with song, soft, layered, harmonious. Lythara's eyes widened. "It is true," she whispered. "Your resonance matches mine." Elias tried to speak. His throat refused. The light wrapped around them, tightening the bond the hall had initiated. The chamber's verdict manifested in crystalline text across the walls. Resolution, intertwined, irreversible, compatible. Lythara stared at it, stunned for the first time. Elias found his voice. "Princess," he said weakly, "what does that mean for us?" She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, the unshakable composure of an Arthelion heir faltered. "It means," she whispered, "that the bond is real. And now millions will want you gone." His heart lurched, gone as in reassigned, deported. Her golden eyes locked onto his. "No, Elias." A soft tremor entered her voice. Gone as in erased, the chamber doors sealed behind them with a soft, crystalline sigh, but Elias still felt as though 100 unseen eyes were watching him. The verdict, intertwined, irreversible, compatible, still shimmered across his mind like afterimages burned onto his retinas. He tried to breathe, failed, tried again. Erased, he finally managed, as in killed. Princess Lythara's expression remained eerily calm, though tension radiated from her in faint pulses the walls reflected. "Some will call for it," she admitted. "They will claim the bond is dangerous, that it destabilizes Arthelion lineage, that you manipulated me, or that you are a fault in the prophecy." "Prophecy again," Elias muttered. "I was hoping we'd left that in the archive." Lythara didn't smile. "Prophecies are not beliefs here, they're political artillery." Before he could respond, a sharp, discordant shudder tore through the chamber, nothing like the harmonious pulses he'd grown used to. This one felt violent, wrong. The princess tensed. "They are coming sooner than expected." "Who are they?" As if in answer, an interior wall liquefied into a transparent sheet, revealing a force of armored Arthelion elites moving quickly down the corridor toward the chamber. Their armor lacked ceremonial patterns, pure combat regalia. Their ears were pinned back in lethal focus. "Those are," Elias started, "the Severance Guard." Her voice was tight. "Their sole duty is preventing forbidden bonds." "By killing the participants," he whispered. "If required," she said softly. The guards stopped outside the sealed archway of the consequence chamber. Their leader struck the crystal barrier with an open palm, producing a crack of harsh resonance that made Elias' teeth ache. "Princess Lythara," the leader shouted, voice amplified by harmonic disruptors. "By order of the High Conquered Council, the chamber is hereby requisitioned for severance protocol. Step aside." Lythara didn't move. Elias whispered, "Princess, what do they think they're going to do?" "Break the bond," she replied. How it's irreversible. She hesitated. To crystal resonance, yes, but there is one other method. He sensed it before she said it. Eliminate one of the bonded. He nearly choked. Which one? Her golden eyes met his with a painful kind of honesty. You. His stomach dropped. Elias Ward, the guard leader, barked again. Step away from the air and surrender yourself for cleansing. Cleansing, Elias hissed. That sounds worse than killing. It is, Lythara said. He shot back. Can we not do that? Another blow against the barrier cracked through the air. The chamber shook, crystals flickering in agitation. They are using a disruptor pulse, Lythara said. It will weaken the chamber's resonance. They intend to force their way in. Can you stop them? Her silence was answer enough. You're royalty and they still won't listen to you, he demanded. Not when they believe they are protecting the throne. The bond ties your fate to mine. They think it endangers succession. The guards struck again. A visible fracture spidered across the archway. Elias' heart hammered. We need to get out now. We cannot leave through the main door. It will collapse under their next strike. The chamber will seal to protect me and trap you. That sounds like the opposite of helpful. She turned to him, stepping closer. Her presence steadied the trembling air somehow, like she alone could anchor the room. There is one escape path, she said, but it is dangerous. Everything here is dangerous. This is different. It reacts to thought, not intention. If your mind slips even slightly, you may be disassembled. What? Temporarily, she offered. That does not help. The guards struck again. The fracture widened. Show me, Elias said, voice shaking. Whatever this escape is, show me. She grabbed his wrist, gentle but firm, and pulled him toward the center of the chamber. Her hand was warm, surprisingly human. The resonance under his skin thrummed back in recognition. The dais beneath them shifted, revealing circular rings of light. This chamber has an inner resonance spiral, she explained. It is meant for high-level heirs only. It transfers its occupants through crystal memory pathways. Transfer how? Like sliding through light. Princess, that is not a real answer. The guard's final strike exploded through the archway. Crystalline shards scattered across the floor like lethal glass rain. They were moments away. Lythara stepped onto the spiral. Elias, with me. He hesitated only a second. Then he grabbed her hand and stepped forward. Light erupted beneath them, violent, swirling, intelligent. It tugged at him from every direction, stretching his sense of self like molten thread. His voice caught in his throat. Lythara, what's happening? Do not resist, she commanded. I'm trying not to die. The spiral flared. The world dissolved. For a moment, Elias felt pressure and weight and absence all at once. His body seemed to disassemble into shimmering particles that spun in a vortex of pure resonance. Then impact. He stumbled, knees buckling, gripping Lythara's hand like a lifeline. The light faded. They were standing in a dark, narrow, crystalline chamber, hidden, silent, untouched by the guards. Elias gasped for breath. Are we alive? We are, her voice softened. The chamber protected us. He slumped against a crystalline wall. Good, because if I died inside that light-sliding blender, I would haunt this palace forever. A sound escaped her, soft, breath-like, almost a laugh. The first true one he'd heard. He stared at her. She caught herself quickly, ears lifting in surprise as though she hadn't meant to reveal that much. We must move. The guards will realize we used the spiral. Move where? To the resonance sanctum, she said. The only place where they cannot reach us, and where we can understand why the bond chose you. Why me? He demanded. Lythara turned to him, her expression suddenly unguarded. Because, she whispered, the bond does not awaken for fate alone. It awakens for... The hidden passage was narrow, too narrow for the splendor of the palace above. Dim crystals lined the walls, their light flickering like dying fireflies. The air felt different here, heavy, ancient, and strangely warm, as if it remembered 1,000 forgotten footsteps. Lythara moved with urgent grace, her fingers wrapped around Elias' wrist, guiding him deeper into the labyrinth of crystal tunnels. The distant resonance alarms pulsed through the structure like a heartbeat chasing them. Elias whispered, "Where does this lead?" "To the sanctum," she replied without slowing. "The heart of Arthelion resonance. And that's safe. As safe as anything can be when the Severance Guard is hunting you." "Perfect, love that." The tunnel curved sharply, descending into a long corridor where the crystals grew dark, almost black. Elias noticed that they pulsed faintly in response to Lythara, but pulsed brighter when he passed. She noticed, too. Her step faltered. "The sanctum recognizes you," she murmured. It recognizes everything about me today, he muttered. Maybe it could also recognize a door out of this mess. But she didn't laugh this time. She was staring at the dark crystals, watching them brighten at Elias' proximity. That shouldn't be possible, she whispered. These crystals only respond to lineage. Royal lineage, he guessed. She nodded once. And they're reacting to me. They are. He opened his mouth to argue again, but the corridor suddenly shook beneath their feet. A deep, violent resonance tore through the structure like a sonic quake. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls groaned. They're using harmonic breachers, Lythara said. They're trying to crack the sanctum pathways. Elias blinked. Can they do that? They can try, she breathed. But if they destabilize these crystals, the entire palace could collapse. Why does everything here involve catastrophic consequences? That is simply Arthelion architecture. Great, love that even more. She pulled him forward again. The corridor opened into a vast chamber unlike anything Elias had seen before. The walls were layered with spiraling bands of crystal that glowed in soft golds and pale blues. In the center stood a raised platform surrounded by floating shards of crystal arranged like a silent choir. The resonant sanctum, Lythara whispered. Elias felt something stir in his chest, a soft vibration under his skin, faint but unmistakable. As he stepped into the chamber, the floating shards rotated toward him, aligning themselves as though greeting a long-awaited guest. Lythara watched in stunned silence. It is responding, she murmured, directly to you. I don't like that it keeps doing that. You should not be able to affect the sanctum at all, not without training, not without crystal blood. He blinked. Crystal blood. Our lineage, she said. Those born with resonance in their bones. I inherited it from my mother. But you. She stepped closer, examining him with unnerving intensity. You should not have any connection to the sanctum, and yet. The chamber pulsed. A single floating shard drifted toward Elias, hovering just inches from his chest. It vibrated in a soft, musical tone, one matched perfectly by the arc mark beneath his shirt. Lythara inhaled sharply. It is echoing your scar. Elias swallowed. Okay, I'll admit this is getting creepy. Not creepy, she corrected softly. Revelatory. The shard brightened, then flashed. Light exploded outward, washing over Elias. He staggered, catching himself on the edge of the platform. Lythara rushed to him. Elias. I'm okay, he gasped. Just dizzy. She placed her hands on his shoulders, gentle, steadying. The contact grounded him instantly. Her touch felt warm, almost electric. Their faces were suddenly very close. Her golden eyes studied him with a vulnerability he had not seen until now. The sanctum chose to reveal something, she whispered. It does not respond to the unworthy. I'm not worthy, Elias said hoarsely. I'm a medtech with a paperwork problem. Her ears lifted slightly, confusion, disbelief, maybe even concern. The sanctum disagrees. Before he could answer, a violent shockwave rippled through the chamber. The walls trembled. Several floating shards cracked. Lythara's composure shattered. They are breaching the outer halls. You said they could. I said they shouldn't. That's not the same. We must complete the sanctum's evaluation before they reach us. Evaluation? Elias echoed. No one said anything about an evaluation. She stepped back, composing herself. The sanctum tests resonance truth. It will show us why the bond formed and whether the connection is genuine. Connection, he repeated. Always that word. Elias, what if the bond is wrong? He asked quietly. What if all of this chose the wrong person? Her expression softened, painfully, achingly. The bond does not choose for mistakes, only for potential. Another shockwave hammered the chamber. Crystals cracked. Alarms wailed through the walls. We are out of time, she said. Stand in the center. He hesitated. Hers was the first face he had seen on this planet. He had spent hours running from guards, sliding through sentient architecture, nearly being erased. But her voice, her presence, cut through the fear. He stepped onto the center of the platform. Lythara joined him. The moment her feet touched the platform, the sanctum reacted. Light spiraled around them, the chamber darkening, narrowing their world to the circle of space where they stood together. Floating shards moved into a ring, their glow intensifying. The platform vibrated. Elias, she whispered, do not fight it. Fight what? He began. The sanctum answered. A shock of harmonic force shot upward, surrounding them in a shimmering sphere. Light raced over Elias' skin. His arc mark burned, bright, alive, as if it were remembering something he had never experienced. The air around them flickered with images, faint memories that were not his. A child with golden eyes, a mother singing to glowing crystals. A fracture in a resonance lattice, a desperate struggle, a burst of light like a falling star, and then a silhouette, a human silhouette, marked. Elias staggered. What is that? It's not my memory. It is not mine either, Lythara whispered. The sanctum is showing us origin. Origin of what? Another shockwave struck the chamber, this time tearing a chunk of the wall free. The severance guard had reached them. Lythara grabbed Elias' hand, squeezing tightly. The origin, she said breathlessly, of you. He blinked, of me. And why your mark echoes ours. The sanctum flared again. A golden silhouette of a human figure formed, clearly human, but surrounded by resonance frequencies identical to hers. Elias' breath caught. What am I? Before she could answer, the chamber doors detonated. The severance guards poured into the sanctum like a silent storm, armor glinting, crystal-forged blades humming with lethal resonance. Their presence warped the air, turning the sanctum's warm glow into cold, surgical threat. Elias instinctively stepped back. Lythara stepped forward. Her voice rang through the chamber with royal command, every note heavy with authority. Lay down your blades. None of them moved. The leader lowered his weapon toward Elias as if pointing at an insect. Your Highness, he said, the human must be removed. The bond threatens Arthelion lineage. We will sever it. You will not touch him, Lythara said. He is dangerous. He is bonded. So are parasites. Elias stiffened, an involuntary spark of anger rising in his chest. The sanctum felt it instantly. Light flared beneath him like a heartbeat, pulsing outward in rings. The leader recoiled. The sanctum reacts to him. It reacts to the bond, Lythara said sharply. Do not misinterpret what you do not understand. The leader ignored her. Restrain the human, he ordered. 2 guards advanced. Elias lifted his hands. Okay, wait, let's all be reasonable. I bruise easily, and I'd really prefer not to be erased today. A guard lunged. Lythara moved faster. Her hand sliced through the air, a gesture so fluid Elias barely saw it. A sharp harmonic pulse burst from her fingertips, knocking both guards backward in a shockwave of gold light. The walls sang from the impact. But the sanctum sang louder. Elias' arcmark flared, so bright he felt heat through the fabric of his shirt. The platform beneath him erupted in a vortex of resonance that surged upward, enveloping him in a spiraling column of gold. The guards froze. Lythara stared wide-eyed. Elias. He didn't answer. Couldn't. Energy coursed through him like liquid fire, threading into every nerve, every bone. The sanctum was inside him, around him, recognizing something buried deep in his being. A voice not spoken but resonated, whispered through the chamber. He carries the ancient echo. He bears the lost harmonic, the bridge between song and silence. The guards fell to their knees, not in worship, but in shock. The leader whispered, horrified, No, no, this is impossible. The harmonic of the first Christians cannot exist in human blood. Elias blinked through the swirling gold. The what? Lythara's hands shook. She stepped toward him, glowing light brushing against her palms like an animal that knew its kin. That resonance is older than our empire, she said, older than recorded Arthelion history. It belonged to the first Christians, the beings who taught us how to shape crystal with thought. That sounds very flattering, Elias said, voice trembling, but I have zero idea what any of that means. It means, she whispered, you are not simply marked. The sanctum vibrated again, light bursting outward from Elias in concentric waves. The guards gasped, recoiling as their blades flickered out. Lythara finished the sentence for him. It means you are a carrier. Elias stared. Carrier of what? A sound like 1,000 layered whispers rolled through the room, merging into comprehension. Carrier of the lost harmonic, carrier of the heart note, carrier of the echo that binds all resonance. Elias' mouth went dry. Ah, he managed. So, something mythical. Something extinct, Lythara corrected softly. There was no fear in her voice, only reverence, and something else, softer, deeper. Connection. The platform surged again, this time surrounding both of them. Light wrapped around Lythara's body, shimmering where it touched her skin, intertwining with Elias' resonance like 2 currents forced into the same river. The guards scrambled backward. Princess, the leader shouted, step away, the bond is corrupt. It is not corrupt, she said. The harmonic is overriding royal frequency. It will destabilize you. It stabilizes me. Her voice shook the room. Even Elias felt the truth of it. Her presence steadied the wild surge inside him, pulling it into order. His mark pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, soft but undeniable. For one terrifying, breathtaking second, they resonated perfectly. The sanctum responded with a soft, harmonic sigh, almost gentle. Then, a final shockwave struck the chamber, not from the guards, from deeper within the palace. The leader's eyes widened. "That was not us," he whispered. Lythara's ears lifted sharply. "The outer sanctum, someone breached it." "Who?" Elias asked. She looked at him, and something like fear flickered in her golden eyes for the first time. "Someone who should not be able to," she said. "Someone who knows the resonance paths better than any guard." The guards exchanged panicked glances. The leader whispered, "No, she cannot be here." Elias frowned. "She." Lythara's expression tightened. "My aunt," she said quietly. "The former heir, exiled, brilliant." A beat of silence, and utterly merciless. The crystals in the walls trembled as footsteps approached. Slow, deliberate echoing with a resonance that felt like a blade sliding across stone. Lythara stepped instinctively in front of Elias. He grabbed her wrist. "You don't have to protect me." "Yes," she said, voice fierce. "I do." The chamber doors, reinforced, ancient, sacred, shattered inward like paper, and she walked in. Tall, regal, eyes sharp as starlight, the woman who stepped into the sanctum walked like she owned every beam of light in the room. Her eyes, brighter, sharper, and colder than Lythara's, swept over the shattered chamber with clinical amusement. "Move aside, niece." Lythara didn't move. "Vaelera," she said, voice tight, "you abandoned your claim to the throne. You have no authority here." "But I have knowledge," Vaelera replied, stepping closer, "and knowledge outranks authority, especially when a royal heir bonds with a foreigner carrying a harmonic that should not exist." Elias tried to subtly step behind Lythara. Vaelera noticed instantly. "Oh no, little human," she purred. "Don't hide. You are the most interesting thing in this palace." He swallowed. "I would love to be significantly less interesting." Vaelera raised a brow, as would we all. Her gaze shifted to the arc mark glowing through his shirt. "That mark, I spent years studying myths of the first Christians. They vanished millennia ago, yet here you are, a human carrying their resonance." "I didn't ask for it," Elias said. "No one ever does," Vaelera replied. "Power chooses. And it never chooses gently." Behind her, the severance guards struggled to regain footing. Their leader raised his blade, trembling. "Former heir Vaelera, you are not permitted." She flicked her wrist. A harmonic pulse, cold and sharp, exploded from her fingers. The guards slammed backward into the crystal walls, unconscious before they hit the ground. Elias stumbled. "Okay, so she's extremely powerful." "She is extremely reckless," Lythara corrected, stepping protectively closer. "You always were dramatic," Vaelera said. "But standing between me and the carrier, that borders on foolish." Lythara held her ground. "He is bonded." "And that bond will rewrite Arthelion lineage if left unchecked," Vaelera replied. "Song and silence intertwined, that is not destiny, that is a disaster." Elias lifted his hand weakly. "Hi, the disaster can speak. Maybe we can talk this out like civilized." "Hush, human," Vaelera said. He hushed. Lythara moved closer, so close he felt her breath warm his cheek. "You will not touch him." Vaelera laughed, an elegant, bitter sound. "Oh, Lythara, you think this is about affection? Or duty? Your bond is unstable. The sanctum is reacting violently. If this continues, it will collapse the palace, and you along with it." Elias blinked hard. "I vote no on all of that." Vaelera ignored him. "You have two options," she said. "Sever the bond now, or I will do it for you." "You cannot sever what the sanctum completed," Lythara said. "I can sever anything," Vaelera whispered. And the light in her eyes darkened, resonating with a deep, ancient power. Lythara moved to shield Elias, but Vaelera lifted her hand. "Don't be dramatic." A sharp, electric resonance lanced outward. Lythara gasped, thrown back by the pulse. "Lythara!" Elias caught her, their bodies collapsing together against the platform. Her breath trembled. "She is strongest in dissonant harmonics if she overpowers the bond." Elias' pulse spiked. "What do we do?" Lythara's eyes, glowing faintly, met his. "Trust me." He nodded without hesitation. She took his hands, both of them pressing her palms flush to his. Her touch was warm, grounding, terrifyingly intimate. "Let the resonance rise," she whispered. "Do not resist it this time." "I'm trying, but my heart is trying to escape." "Let it rise." Vaelera raised both hands now, preparing a final, shattering dissonance. Lythara pressed closer, forehead nearly against Elias' S. "Look at me," she breathed. He did. Everything else faded. Her voice softened into something not quite command, not quite plea. Match me. Her resonance, her heartbeat, her presence wrapped around him like warm light. Elias closed his eyes, and for the first time he didn't fight the bond. He accepted it. The arc mark ignited. A golden shockwave burst from Elias and Lythara together, interwoven, seamless. The sanctum responded with a deep harmonic roar, as though ancient voices sang through them. Vaelira's attack hit the wave, and shattered like glass. She staggered, eyes wide. No, no, that's impossible. Your resonance should not synchronize with his. But it did perfectly. Lythara opened her eyes, and they glowed brighter than the sanctum itself. Step back, Vaelira. Vaelira took one trembling step backward. You merged harmonics, she breathed. No carrier has ever. We are bonded, Lythara said softly. Truly. Elias felt her fingers tighten around his. The sanctum pulsed again, gentle this time, like a heartbeat settling into peace. Vaelira stared between them, stunned. You cannot control what comes next, she whispered. The bond will reshape everything, the council, the lineage. The empire itself. Lythara's voice was calm. Then it is time our empire changed. Vaelira held her gaze for a long moment.